change the 1 minute rule. However, if you can finish in less than a minute, it will help all of us get a better understanding because we're able to ask more questions. So the first question is, should Council leave local government New Zealand? Why or why not?
The short answer is no, we should not leave. They represent all of us here, local governments, and we need a voice that is strong and listened to as central government. You cannot do that alone.
My answer is no too. At the start of this year, Mayor Andrew brought a recommendation to Council that we did leave local government New Zealand. The argument put forward was so compelling that Mayor Andrew voted against his own motion, and Councillor Michael Law up top was the only councillor who voted to leave local government New Zealand. I believe that the services that we get from local government New Zealand are incredibly good. They assist with professional development for councillors, and they also allow us to be more effective when lobbying central government on legislative changes that affect the local government sector. Thank you.
Yeah, look, I did take the vote back to the council, and the jury, in fact, is still out in my view. I only changed my mind because I put it back to the council laws to start using LGNZ for the benefit that the council has said it offered. There's been very little uptake in the professional development that LGNZ offer, and I'm keen to see our councillors use LGNZ for what it's there for. And as I said, the jury's still out. I get the most benefit from it, paradoxically, but I want to see the rest of the team use LGNZ, and I'll give them some time to do that. If not, I'll take it back to the vote.
Thank you, Andrew. Next question. Council debt currently stands at $205 million. Are we paying down enough debt? And what is your approach to managing it? You start again, Andrew.
So our council debt is manageable. We've been praised by Standard & Poor's. In fact, we've even been praised by the Prime Minister for our level of debt. In saying that, debt used wisely is good debt if it's used for infrastructure and the things that we need in our community. What I would say is that, and people probably don't know this, of the 2.2% rates increase this year, 0.7 of that was used to pay off additional debt. So every year we pay off around $10 million of debt. We paid an additional $590,000 of debt this year because that's the right thing to do and not to burden future generations at the same time.
Yeah, Council has a self-imposed debt cap of 200% of its revenue, and that's a debt cap that I support. That's lower than the maximum of 280%, and we've set it at that level because it's prudent and it ensures that we're always operating within our means. But what it does come down to is the ability to make choices. That's what being an effective elected member is all about. So in 2021, I voted in a really difficult vote against roofing the velodrome. The reason I voted against that is because I could see that we had challenges with our interest rates coming up. I could see that we had underinvestment in our stormwater network, and I could see a range of other pressures coming at us in the future. And that's an example of where council needs to make difficult choices because we have to ensure that we're operating within our means. That's the type of environment that I would lead if I was elected mayor. It's about fiscal responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Last year, we paid $8 million in interest. $8 million. Debt is our enemy. So, this year, and Andrew and Josh lament our 2.2% rates increase. We have run an unbalanced budget. That means that we are going to need to borrow money to pay for your debts. Yeah, it's just wrong. You need to understand understand that debt costs lots of money, and that money should be spent on community stuff. You know?
Thank you very much. Let's move to the next question, please. There seems to be an ever-increasing use of consultants for reports. Despite council employing over 30 managers, should more decisions be made in-house? And Pete, you can start when it's good enough.
Yeah, I can start. Part of my business experience is when you have a problem, go see, ask why, and show respect. Where the problem is that we have, we should go where the local knowledge is, because they're the ones that are dealing with it. So you have to go and see that problem. The local knowledge is there to solve most of our problems. They work there. You need to ask lots of questions and show respect to those people. Consultants are good when you don't have that local knowledge. That's when you bring them in, and their value comes at that point, but not at the first.
Yeah, so consultancy costs make sense when they make sense. And if I can give an example, we over the last several years have had a challenge in our resource consent planning team. We have not been able to staff that area sufficiently because we haven't been able to find the appropriate expertise. Now, if someone is applying for a building consent or a resource consent through council, if we are understaffed within our organisation, that means we don't meet our statutory timeframes, and it means that the costs for someone wanting to build or subdivide, they go up. In that environment, consultancy costs absolutely make sense. We bring in consultant planners to make sure we can get the job done. So we need to use consultants when we have a lack of expertise or an inability to attract staff to the organisation, but only in those circumstances. Thank you.
Andrew.
So consultants for specialist time-limited expertise, not to run council business. And our 6-point plan, one of the components of it was around efficiency and reducing waste and to build in-house capability. So consultancy is now an exception because we're building up in-house capability. And I think tightly procured and skills transfer focused into council is the right thing to do, but sometimes having a consultant there to provide expertise on a particular subject is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Andrew. And timely answer. Thank you. In the past, council has made both good and bad business ownership decisions. What is needed to ensure better commercial investment decisions in the future? Josh, if you could start, please.
Yeah, so if I can address the elephant in the room, we're already disappointed by the situation that took place with the International Commercial Pilot Academy and where we've wound up. Can I just say that that decision made by the 2015 Council did make sense at the time because the business case looked incredibly promising. What we did not anticipate is a 2-year border closure at a time where you're trying to attract international pilot students into the country. That seriously compromises the business case. Going forward, we need to look at more stable, more conservative investments that provide a long-term return to the ratepayer. This has worked really well for past councils. In the 1980s, the council planted a forestry portfolio which grew in value over a 30-year period. We sold that in around 2018, and we applied the proceeds towards reducing the debt on the wastewater treatment plant. So that's an example of a really good investment that council should be pursuing similar initiatives going into the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. So the question was, I'm going to find it, first. In the past, council has made both good and bad business ownership decisions. What is needed to ensure better commercial investment decisions in the future?
Well, first of all, I think, there's, we can't be responsible for what happened before this training, but as a council, we can look forward to how we invest and what we invest in, and to make the right decisions for our community, both now but also into the future. And from, I use a phrase, a Latin phrase, my wife's often heard me say, called festina lite, which means more haste, less speed. And sometimes you've got to go slow to go fast. And to get the right information, to consult the community, to get consultant expertise where required, in order to have the right facts and the right data to make decisions that are the right for the next generation as well.
Thank you, Andrew. Peter?
We have to be very wary of investing your rate money. Unless the business case, and it needs to be thorough, gives you a return of greater than 10%, you're better off just paying off your debt. So that balance has to be very clear. So I would be hesitant for council to invest any money in a business of the nature. You have to treat that money as if it's your own, and it is your own money. So, yeah.
Thank you very much, Peter. Let's talk about rates. Rates are going up faster than many families can manage. How do you balance keeping rates affordable when maintaining and improving services and infrastructure, bearing in mind the replacement of the two bridges, for example, the Dublin Bridge and the number 39 Bridge? So we start with Andrew.
Well, I've got 4 focus areas for this campaign, and the first one is keep our rates low. And that's actually, and you'll notice also that keeping rates low, people have said to me, well, how are you going to invest in the future? Well, what I would also say is that 82% of our capital spend in our 10-year plan is on infrastructure. We've had an 11% increase in infrastructure spend from last year to this year. But the 6-point plan that we've, well, first of all, I asked the Chief Executive to go away with a 5-point plan. I gave him that. He came away with a more detailed 6-point plan. That's been so successful, we now have the lowest average rate rise in the country. And the 6-point plan flows through into the following years. So we're actually doing more with less.
Thank you, Andrew. Peter?
Yeah, I totally agree with Andrew. It's the 6-point plan. It's those other things that will keep or help keep our rates down. But you have to also clarify what is your core business. And yes, infrastructure is, but so is all those community things that we love and share. Our libraries, our facilities, our community groups that do mahi and the charities that they run. Those are the things that connect us as a community. And in my opinion, that is also a core business of the council.
It's really important that anyone elected to the Whanganui District Council, and especially the Mayor, has a key rule of thumb in the back of their minds at all time. $850,000 of operational expenditure amounts to a 1% rates increase. $8 million of capital expenditure results in a 1% rates increase. So any decision that Council makes around the table in the long-term plan or the annual plan has to be considered in the context of the impact that it has on rates. That rule of thumb is really important. Second of all, I'm the only candidate on the stage that has developed a funding and financing strategy to support my campaign. It sets out a range of different pathways that we can use to fund services going into the future. It's about accessing government subsidies. It's about maximising our commercial income, our investment income. And it's about ensuring that we are just very, very prudent with the rates that we set every year and prioritise accordingly. Thank you.
There are two mayoral candidates for the funding and financing plan.
The next question is really a whole lot of questions rolled into one, but let's try and spell it out and try council's housing provider becomes at least self-sufficient when it comes to housing? And tacked onto that question, how will you ensure that the assets like the Sargent Gallery, etc., will run at a surplus and not a cost? Andrew.
So in regard to housing, it would have been noted by the community that council is looking to invest in, or not looking to invest, but looking to set up a housing trust, which would build 1,000 homes over the next 10 years. It's important to know that that would be transferred and it would not be at the cost of the ratepayer. So I think that's been touted that it would cost the ratepayer. It's not going to cost the ratepayer, it will be self-funded. And the trust would separate our housing stock that we currently own into the trust. In regard to the Sargent Gallery and other, there's the museum, libraries, you could call the Sargent Gallery, parks, etc. Some of these are for community good and they do have a cost. So it's a matter of which has a cost and which doesn't. And that's the argument with the Sargent Gallery.
Thank you, Andrew. Josh.
Yeah, let's not pull the wool over anyone's eyes here. The Sargent Gallery is never going to make a profit. There is no point any candidate standing up on the stage suggesting that the Sargent will make a profit. It is a public service, it is a public facility, and it is there for public good. However, that does not mean that the Sargent Gallery cannot maximise its revenue. We received a report just at Council today which showed that the cafe is performing incredibly well. The shop is performing incredibly well. The Sargent Gallery Trust continues to operate an endowment fund that gets donations. We have donations coming through the door too. We have revenue coming in from higher fees. So we need to continue to maximise all of those initiatives. In terms of the housing issue, we're at the point now where our pensioner housing portfolio cannot continue to sustain itself, and we need external revenue to provide future investment. One of the advantages of setting up a community housing trust is that we can access central government subsidies that we cannot currently access at the moment. And so that will benefit us in terms of that future investment in the housing space. Thanks.
Both candidates have summed it up, and we have, as a team, worked for the last 3 or 4 years to get to this point. We have done incredibly well as a team. It hasn't been led by anyone. There are lots of councillors, particularly Kate Joplin, who has really done a lot of good work as far as the housing is concerned, and so have a lot of the other councillors. So we are in a good space as far as that's concerned. So,
thank you, Peter. So I want to move on to one final question, if I may, please. Today, the 9th of September, operations and performance meeting agenda consisted of 192 pages. 14 are preamble and minutes, leaving 178 pages of very detailed operational reports from 13 different activities, from the glassworks through to the sergeant and finance and treasury. How have you, or how would you deal with the volume of information so you can make wise decisions on our behalf?
It's a lot of late nights. I'll often be up until 1 o'clock in the morning reading agendas, because it's really important that any elected member comes to the council table fully prepared, ready to ask questions, having digested and understood all the information that's put to us. I know that there are a number of council officers in this room that work incredibly hard to put together the information that us as governors need to make good decisions, and I want to acknowledge all of the work that they do. So it's about hard work, it's about putting your money where your mouth is, and showing that you intend to take the role seriously and doing justice to ratepayers and residents.
Andrew.
Yeah, look, I'd also echo Josh. Josh's views, Josh's thoughts about council officers who put a huge amount of work into preparing reports for us to make decisions. In regard to the 190 pages of the Operations and Performance Committee today, it's one committee of a number of committees of council meetings. We have a huge amount of information that comes upon our desk. Not only that, but I can speak for myself, I can't speak necessarily for the other two, but I get hundreds of emails a day. There's meetings with in the community, there's meetings with others in my office, there's just a huge amount of work involved in being a councillor and being a mayor, but I'm here to serve our community, and so I put in the hard work to make sure I'm across everything that I can be, but it's a team effort. We've got a cohesive council, a team and a diverse team, and with all of us together, I think we make very good decisions, and we're the envy of many councils across the country.
Thank you.
Thank you. I haven't been spoken yet, and you're already clapping. I think I might leave it there. The operations and performance is a reflection of the great team that we have working through the whole council, from the person that receives you at the front desk to all those people that do the actual work out there, like the glassworks and that sort of thing. There is an amount or an immense amount of talent that we have within our council. We just need to more let them really do their work. The decision reports are done through lots of workshops, and it's those workshops that the real work gets done. That's when we send out the officers to go and really, bring in that community thing. Yeah, okay. But that's those workshops that the real hard work gets done. So.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, and thank you for answering that question in such a supportive way of your team and your council colleagues. It's appreciated. Now, we're going to have only time for 2 questions from the public, because we've nearly run out of time. In fact, I think officially we have run out of time. So the first question, please, is the gentleman at the back with his hand up. Tim?
Mark Wilson. My question regards the Citizens' Assembly that looked at the swimming pool issue. I only know the outcome via the local media, so forgive my lack of knowledge of what may have gone on behind the scenes. But a certain amount of time and quite a few $1,000s of ratepayers' money was spent with the Citizens' Assembly, who came back with 2 choices: develop Whanganui East Pool and maintain it, or close it and take resources to the splash centre and expand that. They were the 2 choices we had before the Citizens' Assembly was even formed. They were the 2 things on the table. So I'm just not quite sure what the benefit of that was. That's kind of like a question.
Thank you, Mark. Gentlemen, you all heard the question, all right? So if we can keep it as brief as we can, please, we'll start with Peter.
Right, the Citizens' Assembly, I thought it was a really good concept. It gave us more information than general surveys, and I would definitely like to refine them a little so that it came back with 1 recommendation rather than 2, because that just gave us back the football that we were kicking down the road for the last 10 years. So,
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, community and broader than that, nationwide community trust in local democracy is incredibly low. And the Citizens' Assembly concept was one of the recommendations that came out of the Future for Local Government report delivered by the previous government as a way to enhance participatory democracy and to provide more, trust in local institutions. So I support it for that reason. However, this is the first Citizens' Assembly that we ran in Whanganui's history. That's my understanding. Correct me if I'm wrong. There will be a review. There will be things that we could have done better. One of the things that I personally believe we need need to make explicitly clear next time is that council is only after one recommendation, not two, just one. And that will allow us to make a far more, effective decision once we receive that recommendation in the council chambers. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Andrew. I use a phrase, where I coined it or where I got it from, but it's called taking council to the people, and that's getting out of our council building and getting out into the community and building trust and hearing from our community in different and better ways. So when the Citizens Assembly came upon my desk and I asked the Chief Executive to have a look at it as another option about taking council to the community, he went away, designed a program and put it in place. It's been a trial and we've learned a lot from it, and I'm hopeful that we can keep that method going as another way of engaging with our community.
Thank you, Andrew. That's favourite, isn't it?
Okay, so my question is, you've each served on council. Is there one specific vote or policy you supported that you now regret, and what would you do differently as mayor?
Andrew.
Well, mine's actually the other way around. It's the food scraps collection service, where we as a council, I think before my time on council, voted to implement a food scraps collection service for our community. About a third of the community said they wanted it. Most of the community said they didn't, but we're going to go ahead with it anyway. As soon as I heard the mandate was dropped by central government, I quickly took it back to a revote to the council, and I think the vote ended up being about 10 votes to 3. But I think 9-4, was it? 9-4. And we saved 1.5% on rates with that. But it was an example of listening to the community, and I think that is, they said they didn't want it, we listened and made the change.
Thank you. Josh, please.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this one around thinking of a vote that I've regretted. I can't actually answer that one. Nothing's coming to mind. However, what I'll say in place of that is just to emphasise how important it is that as part of the consultation process, elected members are open to listening and changing their view. And an example that I can give of myself changing my view was in the last long-term plan, council put out a proposal to build a hotel facility. The feedback that came back from the community was that this is not something council should be getting into. It's a nice to have at a time where people are doing it tough. And so I, like both my colleagues actually and the rest of council, I believe it was unanimous, voted to not go ahead with that decision. So that's an example of where listening is really important. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I'm going to be very quick. The answer is no, and that's because I attended all the workshops, worked through all the what's names and strategies and officers' comments and things like that, and our others. I always went in with an open mind, so when I made the decision, I made it because it didn't contradict any of my values or my priorities. And so, yeah, there wasn't a vote in the last 3 years that I regret.
Thank you, Peter. Ladies and gentlemen, the rules when we came to this, the venue night had to be up at 8:30, it's now 8:40, so we need to abide by those rules. What I want to do is thank all the candidates who have spoken tonight. Thank you so much, because, and I hope sincerely that this hope you and the other citizens of Whanganui to be able to cast your votes wisely. So thank you very much for coming, ladies and gentlemen. Without you coming here, of course, this information will never become public. And thank you all candidates for being here, for without you being here, we wouldn't know who to vote for. So thank you very much.
We wanted to say thank you very much to the team at the association. We've done an incredible job, I think, not by us at all. We've worked incredibly this volunteer role, so I want to say thank you to Warwick for emceeing and guys for doing the running. I'd also really like to invite everybody to loiter outside the doors to talk to the candidates, because we really do need to get out.
Thank you so much, Randy.